Did Chase Bank make moves to impose capital controls on small business accounts last week? Chase says no. But are they playing word games? Letters went out to business account holders stating that they would be prohibited from sending and receiving domestic wire transfers as well as international wires. Cash activity will also be limited to $50,000 per cycle. Chase calls these moves streamlining and de-risking. They claim that these types of transactions carry a higher degree of risk than standard banking. Many people believe that this was actually done in an effort to prevent a run on deposits. Few critics have gone so far as to call the changes a move in a war against cash. These privacy advocates argue that paper currency is the only way to buy and sell without creating digital records. Here to break down these moves by Chase and give perspective on their actions is GERALD CELENTE. He's the publisher of the Trends Journal. Welcome back to the program, GERALD.
Thank you for having me, Gary.
GERALD, Chase calls their recent notice to bank customers streamlining and de-risking. Are they playing word games, or is it accurate to call their actions capital controls?
Are they playing word games? Of course. I mean, look what they're doing. Who could get away with this? And you can see what's going on over here in a lot of ways. Since 2009, J.P. Morgan Chase has paid nearly $30 billion, that's with a B, $30 billion worth of fines and spending that in litigation for the actions that they have taken that are both illegal and immoral. So even though they're making a lot of dough, $30 billion is a lot of money. And I really suspect from my experiences in the past that J.P. Morgan Chase may not have the money that they need to keep their systems operating. Even though people say, well, you know, the overnight rate's near zero, they can get all they want. It's not that easy. And I'll tell you why I say that. From my own experiences, I wrote about it in the Trends Journal twice when I tried to make deposits in those numbers that Chase is talking about, withdrawals, excuse me, in the $50,000 range. You should see the song and dance I had to go through. I had to put up a scene twice. I mean, an ugly scene. Once
so GERALD, you recently went to the bank and actually tried to make a $50,000 withdrawal.
Exactly.
To test their policies.
Trends Journal. Yeah. And one was with HSBC, and the other one was with Key Bank. What a bunch of criminals that are running these banks. You thought I was stealing the money rather than trying to take out my own. Now, let's look at when Chase did this. They did this while the United States was going through that calamity of raising the debt ceiling, a calamity that destabilized much of the world financial markets. They are on a tenterhook as to where this economy is going. Let's just look at the facts and go back to Chase.
Well, let's do that. Let's do that for a minute. You just said that you believe that Chase does not have the capital on hand to accommodate these types of transfers. What makes you believe that? I mean, just by limiting the transfers themselves, there has to be something else.
They just paid, just recently, they're being fined, just within the last week, they're being fined another $13 billion. And as I mentioned, since 2006, when you add them all, 2009, when you add them all up, they're about $30 billion in the hole. So do they have the money? If there's a financial run, will they be able to cover it? And that's what I'm saying. And to me, Cyprus this last year was the canary in the mine shaft when they closed down the banks and you weren't allowed to get all your money out at one time. And if you had over a certain amount, over there it was 100,000 euros, in that white shoe boy language, they were going to give you a haircut, which means they were going to steal your money and you weren't going to get all of it back. And they put on the same kind of controls if you had under 100,000 that Chase is doing. So I believe they're preparing for the worst. And that's why I was saying you have to look at the global situation. Look what's going on now in China.
Well, you mentioned Cyprus. Now you're talking about China. The international wire aspect of this. Why do they see that as a threat? Is it simply because the money is departing the United States, departing U.S. banks, the U.S. Chase Bank, and going to another bank overseas? That's the threat.
It's bigger than that. It's a destabilization of the entire financial system. As I'm mentioning, you go back to Wednesday of this week. Look what happened over in the Asian markets with the fear that the Chinese are going to tighten up on lending because they have a real estate bubble. You just saw prices in places like Shanghai, real estate prices go up over 20% in a year. And now they're covering a lot of bad debt. What I'm saying is the entire world banking system is under pressure. And I believe Chase is putting these actions into place, these restrictions on withdrawals because of the greater issue.
So do you believe that they believe that there is going to be a run on the banks?
I believe that they believe that there's going to be a financial crisis. And when that financial crisis hits with that beautiful 2-bit smile, somebody will tell you on the other side of the teller's cage over there, didn't you read in your agreement that you can't get your money out? Yes. They're looking at the total financial situation. Look what happened in the United States with the new jobs report that just came out earlier this week. The jobs aren't being created, and the ones that are being created can't pay a living wage. They're going to have to keep tapering going. And come January, they're also going to revisit the debt ceiling and whether or not to keep the government operating again. They're postponing this for the Christmas holidays. And I believe all of these restrictions are being put in place because when the system collapses, you get screwed. Just like HSBC, just like KeyBank, and just like John the Slime Corzine from MF Global stole my money out of segregated account and said, hey, that's the law. The law of the land is the banks are screwing everybody, and they're putting these restrictions in place so that when it collapses, you get screwed as they have a smile on their face.
Now, Gerald, I want to take it back for a minute. If the American people are being screwed by the banks, as you say, what can we do? What can the American people do to protect themselves now?
You know, for me, I only speak for myself. I don't give any financial advice. Why are you keeping your money there with them anyway? What are you getting for it? They don't give you anything back on your interest. It's chump change. It doesn't pay for anything. Why are you doing business with these criminal operations? So for me, I try to do with credit unions and my local bank, and I put my money in other places so I could get my hands on it without going through an SOB middleman that I know has a criminal track record. Here, pick up this past Wednesday's Financial Times. Look at the headline. Rabobank faces billion-dollar fine over LIBOR. I'll guarantee you that 99% of your listeners don't know what a Rabobank is. Maybe they thought I'm mispronouncing it and I'm saying robber bank. But no, it's a Dutch joint over there. Another one of the money changers that are rigging the LIBOR rates. And then you look at who else rigged them. Who else? Oh, Royal Bank of Scotland. Don't lose your temper. Say Royal with that Royal BS line in it to make it seem proper. And Barclays and one after another. It's a criminal operation. No one can get away with this crap. Getting fined billions of dollars and not one head rolling. Can't people see what's going on? Why do business with criminals? It's like going out. Election day is coming. Get ready. Election day. Go pull the lever for a lesser of two evils. Same thing in dealing with these SOBs.
No, Gerald, I want to go back to Chase. Because these changes...
You're going to have to chase for your money. That's how they got the name.
These changes that they've imposed, they affect business accounts. Should the average account holder be concerned that they may soon see limits as well?
I think everybody should be concerned. They've done it before in this country. Remember the bank holiday under FDR? Oh, that was a beauty. They don't teach you about this in school. I mean, I have a master's degree. I never heard of it once. I heard of the bank holiday. But they glossed over the part where you had to turn in all your gold at $20.62 an ounce. And then when the banks reopened, in those days the dollar was pegged to gold, they repegged the price of gold to $35 an ounce. That's right. You sold it to them for $20.62. Once they got it all in, they raised it to $35. You just lost 70% of your purchasing power. I believe they're going to do something that's going to devalue the dollar permanently, just like they did back then. And again, you never read about it when you go to school.